My name is Vern Ehlers, and I'm your new congressman.
Every 2 years I face the question, should I run again or not? And I faced it again this year, and this time the answer was no, I should not run again.
He's represented Grand Rapids and Kent County in Congress for more than 16 years. Before that, he served in Lansing and locally. But today, Congressman Vern Ehlers announced he will not run for re-election. Political reporter Rick Elvin is standing by with a look at the impact of this announcement. But we start here at the live desk with Tony Tagliavia. And Tony, you were at that announcement this morning.
Emily, the congressman says he doesn't want to be one of those people who others say should have retired 5 years ago. The congressman told reporters today he was thinking about retiring. It was either going to happen this year or it was going to happen in 2 years. And one advantage to doing it this year is that his replacement, who he says is likely to be a Republican, will have 2 years in office before the redistricting process begins after the 2010 census. Congressman Ehlers talked today about his work to protect the Great Lakes, to advocate for the environment, and to advocate for manufacturers. He says more than 30 years after Gerald Ford left Congress, people still refer to his seat as Jerry Ford's seat.
Probably the greatest honor I've had is that when people told me, as they have a number of times over the last 5 or 10 years, that I resemble Jerry Ford very much, and that in my patient, quiet manner of doing things, that's probably just a reflection of this community, that we don't rush madly in where angels fear to tread, but we analyze carefully, think it through, and decide what's best for the people.
You may remember that yesterday, first-term state representative Justin Amash of Cascade announced that he is seeking that seat in Congress. Today, we asked the congressman about that. I'm told we don't have that sound. We asked the congressman what he thought about that. He said he had not been in touch with anyone from the Justin Amash campaign. He said Justin Amash did call his office yesterday after the announcement was made. He said it was somewhat surprising considering that call would typically come before an announcement. Now, in terms of what's happening with the seat in the future, the congressman says he doesn't typically make an endorsement in the primary. He says that if there is someone who's lagging behind in the polls who he thinks deserves his endorsement, he may, in fact, make that move. The congressman says he has few real regrets to speak of. He says he wishes he would have accomplished more. He regrets being away from his family while he was working in Washington. And he says with his retirement and the run by Congressman Pete Hoekstra along the lakeshore for the Michigan governor's office, he says he fears this region will lose seniority and therefore influence in Congress. Back to you.
Well, this announcement by Congressman Ehlers throws a real twist into what's shaping up to be a very interesting election. And political reporter Rick Elvin live in Holland right now, where there's another open seat in Congress as well. He joins us now to break down today's announcement and what that means. Rick?
Well, the seat out here is the one Tony just talked about, Congressman Pete Hoekstra running for governor, and I was just hosting a forum with some of the candidates who want to take his place. You know what Congressman Ehlers talked about is really true. More than 36 years of experience from the lakeshore all the way through Berry, Kent, and Ionia counties lost as of January 3rd next year. That is no small matter. But to the race at hand, just to give you an idea, there are 6 folks at least that are vying for the 2nd Congressional District. Filing deadline isn't until May, so others could get in, some could get out. Over in Kent County, we already know that Justin Amash and one other person have been eyeing that race. Now the floodgates can open. And you may see some really big names. It's always a bad idea to go on television and say, well, this person might run, or that person might run, or this person might run. But start thinking about people who have served in other offices, people who have been term limited, people who are currently serving in office and can't run again because of term limits. You got a lot of folks to choose from out of that 3-county area. So if you got 6 people at least running out here in the 2nd district, don't be surprised if you get a dozen running there in the 3rd district. It should be a very spirited primary, and I believe that you're going to see some names that are very familiar to you, and I would not be surprised if some of the decisions don't shake up elections up and down the ballot. In other words, people who have already said or have been thinking about running for some office may now change their mind, because it's not often that you get an open seat for the U.S. House of Representatives, particularly here in West Michigan. We've got 2 all in 1 year, Brett.
Wow.